growth of 3.73%, a movement that the country has never witnessed within one quarter. The report also shows that 17 out of the country's 46 economic sectors recorded positive growth, with agriculture in particular posting a strong growth of 3.42% during the last quarter.
Another positive story for us is that the non-oil sector grew by 1.69%. This is an indication that the diversification efforts that the economy has been pushing is actually also posting results. While the oil sector is declining, the non-oil sector is growing. We've seen overall economic activities reported strongly in the quarrying and minerals sector, in the ICT and telecommunications sector, in the cement industry, in broadcasting, in crop production, as well as in agriculture.
The growth, she however said, is still fragile as oil refining, air transport, coal mining, crude oil production, as well as accommodation and food services are still witnessing negative growth. And to sustain the upward trajectory, the minister said the Economic Sustainability Plan will continue to be vigorously implemented, while its principles and tenets taken into the new medium-term development plan expected to be launched in April this year. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
We apologize for that mix-up there. That report was the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning giving an update of the fourth quarter GDP report. So let's take you back to the one we called earlier, still coming from the State House on infrastructural development here in the FCT. Let's take it.
Addressing the nation's infrastructure deficit is one of the major undertakings of the Buhari presidency since coming to power in 2015. Provision of critical infrastructure, the government believes, is key towards achieving its objectives of taking Nigeria to the next level of socio-economic development. And for this to be realized, Abuja, the nation's capital, must continue to have a fair share. Therefore, for the second time in 2 weeks, funds have been approved for the FCT for the provision of roads infrastructure. 2.3 billion naira is to be expended on the rehabilitation of the road leading to the Federal Integrated Staff Housing Estate in Apo Tafia area of Abuja.
The second infrastructure project relates to the contract for the construction of an access road and car park for the Abuja Light Rail Station at Ring Road 2, otherwise known as Kukuaba Station. The intention is that by the opening of that road, that railway station will be made functional, and then commuters can use the station either when they visit the national park there or when they want to have access to the Kukuaba district.
3.6 billion naira is earmarked for the project, while 373.4 million naira will be utilized for the purchase of 2 heavy-duty tow vehicles with mounted cranes for the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, otherwise referred to as the VIO. 2 other procurement memos presented by the Minister of Health were also approved by the Council towards upgrading as well as upscaling the capacity of NAFDAC in the execution of its mandate, particularly in detecting fake and substandard drugs as well as other materials.
First memo was about 40 true scan devices, which are mobile scan devices, to be able to recognize fake and substandard drugs brought in either across the border or found within the country. The second memo is about laboratory strengthening, improving and upgrading all the laboratories we have in the country, about 6 laboratories for NAFDAC for testing materials that are brought into the country. Both of these contribute strongly to what we call the benchmarks for the NAFDAC to be able to allow the manufacture of vaccines in Nigeria.
Nigeria, the minister said, has an ambition to start manufacturing vaccines and getting NAFDAC's laboratory capacity upscaled with the ability to speed up and make diagnostics more accurate in respect of fake and substandard drugs is a critical condition. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
A look at AGRIC, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, says development of abandoned grazing reserves will actively address farmers' herders' crisis in Nigeria. Now, this is coming as the federal government kicked off the process of implementing National Livestock Development Project in 4 states of the Federation. Let's get the details with Musa Baba Aliyu.
The recent survey conducted by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture revealed that Nigeria has 405 designated grazing reserves in the country. Out of this figure, only 144 are gazetted are in bad state. The Food and Agriculture Organization and National Institute for Livestock Development are advising that federal and state governments should convert the reserves to ranches to address the perennial conflict between farmers and herders.
Look at the National Livestock Transformation Plan. It's a very comprehensive plan, and if well adopted and well executed by all the stakeholders that are meant to drive that plan, I can assure you that this country will see this problem behind us.
Following this, the National Livestock Development Program is set to kick off in March this year, with Dutch investment agency Netherlands providing grants to fund the project. 20 states and the FCT have indicated interest to key into the federal government project.
It's not compulsory for all the states of the nation because there must be comparative cost advantage and what is called opportunity cost. So he has started a pilot this, and I'm sure that it will solve the problems that we're encountering right now.
The pilot program will take off in Nasarawa, Gombe, Adama and Plateau states, which will also serve as training centers. The project will also include dairy production and animal fattening for beef and is expected to feature conflict resolution mechanisms. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Although Africa is the least contributor to global carbon emissions, it is most impacted by climate change, which has spiraled into security crises in the region. Well, the United Nations Security Council is therefore advocating urgent action in addressing climate-induced threats to international peace and security. Onenge Fineface reports.
The theme, maintenance of international peace and security, climate and security. The United Nations Security Council is concerned about the increasing rates of climate crisis affecting millions of people.
If this council is going to succeed in maintaining peace and security worldwide, then it's got to galvanize the whole range of UN agencies, organizations, and into a swift and effective response.
We need a greater focus on prevention through strong, ambitious climate action. We must get the world on track to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and avoid climate catastrophe. We must create a truly global coalition to commit to net zero emissions by the middle of the century.
Shrinking Lake Chad, ocean warming due to pollution, biodiversity loss and deforestation continue to deplete available natural resources and result in conflicts and violent extremism, especially in Africa.
Africa, unfortunately, will suffer the worst consequences of climate change, despite being the least responsible for global greenhouse gases. Unprojected climate changes for Africa suggest a future of increased water insecurity, decreased agricultural yields, encroaching desert, as well as damaged coastal infrastructure.
The Security Council sees a negative spiral effect in which climate change undermines the ability to cope with conflict, and conflicts undermining resilience to climate change. The more reason for urgent action. Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And more on the environment, the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSDRA, says it is working closely with a Spanish-based organization to ensure Nigeria acquires latest technology used for the control and prevention of explosions in the petroleum industry. Kenneth Nanim reports that the new technology was unveiled to stakeholders at a virtual meeting at the instance of Minister of State for Environment.
Nigeria has lost a lot of lives and property to explosions of various degrees, especially in the petroleum sector. A situation that the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency has been searching for solution to. Now, the country is about to reverse the situation with this new explosion control technology, which has the capacity to absorb energy from burning fire.
This is to demonstrate that a tank protected with our mesh will avoid the evaporation of the gasoline. You can have hardly 2% maximum of gas. Some years ago, I think it was in...
Personnel of the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency and other stakeholders are expected to leverage on the new technology to mitigate environmental, social and economic impact of explosions in the country.
The most important thing we are focusing on is explosions. It is easy for us to combat fire, but explosion has been a big problem. With the mesh and the balls, it has been proved all over the world that this technology is very, very potent.
When this pandemic is over, I believe there will be an opportunity to have a much better interaction with these people and then get samples of this for their Nigerian partners to come and really test physically to us. But what we see physically is what we have seen him demonstrated from his table over there in Spain.
Participants who acknowledged the initiative emphasized the need for synergy with the Federal Fire Service to ensure quality and certification. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a short break. We're back.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Thanks for staying tuned. The Armed Forces of Nigeria is to upscale military operations for the protection of critical assets of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation spread across the country. The Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lucky Irabo, announced this while receiving the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, on a working visit to the Defense Headquarters, Abuja.
It's my intention to cooperate maximally with you and your team and to give the necessary instructions that will enable all officers within the leadership hierarchy of the armed forces to be of help to the NNPC, given that our resistance economically rests almost solely on the proceeds arising from your operations.
I'm most happy to work with General Irabo to support greater national interests and protection of international assets. We believe that we'll work with you most profoundly to deliver on all our responsibilities.
GMD also congratulated the Chief of Defense Staff on his well-deserved appointment. Removal of confidentiality clauses to enable anti-graft agencies and the public examine contracts awarded in the oil and gas sector will play a vital role in checking illicit financial flows in the oil and gas sector. Now, this was brought to the front burner at a meeting to review a report on illicit financial flow in the sector organized by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission in Abuja.
Nigeria's economy is reported to be highly dependent on the oil and gas sector. Reports also indicate that the industry equally contributes 95% of illicit financial flows yearly. This, according to participants at this virtual meeting, weakens the country's ability to support its economic growth and provide social services to the citizens.
Every country looks forward to developing its economic aspirations by boosting trade and investment. However, it turns out that this very channel is also the channel for losses of revenue and capital.
Experts and resource persons identify undervalue and reporting of production as well as manipulation of contracts as the main avenue for illicit flows.
We are losing, according to NTA, $15 to $18 billion yearly. A lot of it on oil bunkering, 35%. But interestingly, commercial transactions with the international oil companies amounts to 60%.
When you have a culture of impunity, you can have the best legislation, you can have the best contracts. Some people will not comply with those provisions and absolutely nothing will happen to them.
The forum is of the view that cross-border movement of funds through illegal activities will only be curtailed through building capacity of the country's contract negotiators to enable them identify hidden clauses and exposing contract deals for public scrutiny. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
In the last 6 years, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has been without a substantive chairman. Well, the confirmation of Abdurrashid Bawa by the Senate has now changed the narrative. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unkwo reports on the parliamentary screening of the new EFCC chairman.
9 days after the receipt of the presidential request for the confirmation of Abdurrashid Bawa as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Senate has grilled the nominee. The atmosphere was frenzy as family members, friends and colleagues of Abdurrashid Bawa thronged the lobby of the National Assembly in solidarity. Inside the Senate chamber, Abdurrashid Bawa was ushered in by the senior special assistant to the President of National Assembly Matters, Senate, Babajide Omoworare, and then question and answer session ensued, where he promised to curtail the use of discretion from the office of the chairman, ensure transparency and the digitization of operations of the commission.
How are you going to set up your operations as chairman of EFCC? How do you intend to reposition this commission so as to create confidence in the minds of Nigeria?
I'm not unmindful of the enormous responsibility before me and my colleagues, but I believe we are up to the task. And I also believe that we will not fix the blame of the past. We will accept our own responsibility for the future.
Bawa noted that he will discharge his duties without fear or favor as he made clarifications on the alleged mismanagement of seized and forfeited assets at the Port Harcourt Zonal Office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission under his watch.
I, as zonal head of the EFCC, never for once sold a single asset in Port Harcourt. I never did. The then Secretary of the Commission, together with 3 directors and other staff from the headquarters, flew into Port Harcourt and disposed of the trucks.
I'd like to begin, Mr. President, by thanking Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief President Muhammadu Buhari for this nomination. This nomination is unique.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Abdurrashid Bawa as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Abdurrashid Bawa is hereby confirmed as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Congratulations.
Abdurrashid Bawa is to take over from Mohammed Umar Abba, who was appointed acting chairman by President Muhammadu Buhari in 2020, following the suspension of Ibrahim Magu. The 8th Senate had twice in 2 separate occasions in 2016 and 2017 rejected the confirmation of Magu. The legislators also confirmed the nomination of the appointment of Larry Obinna-Chukwu for appointment as Commissioner for the Nigerian Law Reform Commission.
That the committee is satisfied about his qualifications, experience, suitability, competence and integrity.
Senate has passed 11.3 billion naira capital expenditure of the 2020 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. It has adjourned to Tuesday, the 2nd of March 2021 to enable committees carry out their oversight visits. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And from the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives has called for the inclusion of cervical cancer vaccine in the list of routine immunization programs in Nigeria. This, it believes, will help prevent the spread of cervical cancer in the country. In adopting the motion from Representative Bamidele Salami, House members noted that cancer of the cervix is sexually transmitted and has no cure. But the use of the vaccine in other parts of the world has brought about significant reduction of the infection. The lawmakers urged ministries and departments of government to create awareness on the causes, prevention and management of the infection and the vaccine recommended by the World Health Organization. And more on health, but on the global scene, World Health Organization's global COVID-19 vaccine sharing scheme, COVAX, delivers first doses, and protests erupt in the Republic of Niger as opposition leader claims election victory. Let's get details from Joyce Ometu.
We begin with the cheering news. Ghana has become the first recipient of COVID-19 vaccine distributed by the Global Vaccine Sharing Initiative, COVAX, which aims at getting COVID-19 vaccines to the world's most vulnerable people. A total of 600,000 doses of AstraZeneca jab arrived at Accra, the Ghanaian capital, on Wednesday. In a joint statement, the WHO and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, described the occasion as momentous and critical in bringing the pandemic to an end. Meanwhile, U.S. Food and Drug Administration said Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective, paving the way for its approval for emergency use. The FDA's advisory panel of independent experts meets this Friday to decide whether to approve the shots. From India, we hear that the country has announced an expansion of its vaccination program on Wednesday, but warned that breaches of coronavirus protocols could worsen the infection surge. Worldwide, confirmed coronavirus infections have crossed 112 million, while global death toll now stands at 2.4 million. Nigeria on Monday recorded 571 new COVID-19 cases, raising the total number of infections in the country to 153,187. In other news, protests erupted in Niger on Tuesday after the country's monumental election result named ruling party candidate Mohamed Bazoum as the winner. Supporters of Usman took to the streets of the capital, Niamey, and gathered at the headquarters of the ruling party, but were quickly dispersed by police who fired tear gas. Usman's campaign alleged fraud before the results were declared and said there had been thefts of ballot boxes and threats against voters without providing evidence. The Electoral Commission is yet to comment on the accusations of irregularities. Elsewhere in the world, a Thai court on Wednesday sentenced 4 political leaders to jail, including 3 incumbent cabinet ministers, after finding them guilty of insurrection during anti-government protests that culminated in a 2014 military coup. Thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
And just before we go, let's find out how will tomorrow's weather fare. That's the news. Thank you for your time. And let's not be wary talking about the fight against rape and rapists. Connect with NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele, and my sign language interpreter is Deborah Dangana.